going. What's it about? This is my wife. Did that girl you telling me lies about where she is? Yeah, you make me so I be defending my wife. What? What is it? What have you got? What have you got to say to yourself, Ocean? What? You have to say to yourself. What do you have to say to yourself? Explain yourself. Again? Oh, really? What else? What else? Well, why do you hear that? Telling the kids lies, why are you telling you lies about where you're at? They did. Explain yourself. No, you stay. It's not fun.
Do married women go on girls' trips? No, we do not. No, we do not. No, we do not. We don't go on girls' trips. We don't do that. We married. We don't go on girls' trips. What we looking for? Who we checking for? What? Go and spend time with our friends? No, thank you. We can spend time right here in the city. Where you want to go? Olive Garden, Red Lobster. Where we going? Brunch, Target, Walmart. You pick. Out the country, no. My husband.
That man surely saw the signs before catching her. Her insistence on girls' trips and her evasive attitude were clear red flags, which is why he decided to show up. Deep down, he already knew what he was going to find. Brother, if she's so eager to travel, why doesn't she do it with you? The issue isn't the guy she's with. The real problem is your woman. Fighting the other man solves nothing. If I were in your shoes, I'd just take a picture, keep the evidence, and let my lawyer handle the rest. Married women shouldn't be going on girls' trips if they have a husband at home. If they really want to hang out with their friends, there are plenty of places in town to do so. But no, they want the ring, the big wedding, yet live like single women within the marriage. Then we hear complaints about how there are no good men or family-oriented guys left. Well, with behavior like this, what man would want to get married and deal with that nonsense? Brother, mutual respect is the foundation, and if it's not there, it's time to rethink everything.
Rule number one is you have to get your hair wet and you have to get in the pool every single day.
Yes.
Rule number 2 for the girls' trip is that there is always a happy hour.
And a happy ending. Rule number 3 for the girls' trip is that you always have to remember to wear underwear with your dress. Rule number 4, free the nip.
Rule number 5, there's always a vibe check. We all have to check in with each other at the beginning of the night to make sure we're all on the same category of outfit.
Yeah, coordination.
I had the most awkward situation on a girls' trip where I'm the only married girl in my group of friends. I ended up rooming with somebody that was single. And at the end of a fun night, she wanted to bring someone back. Now I'm in my room and I'm like, there's 2 guys in my room, like drinking and still hanging out. It was a guy and his friend. Yeah.
Oh, so that was supposed to be for you.
No, and that's the point. Now I'm in my room on the phone, like, there's dudes in the room. Like, I feel mad uncomfortable. Like, I think I have to be wiser because maybe that wasn't the trip I should have been on.
Damn, she realized she shouldn't have been on that trip when she had 2 men in her room, and her friend was about to make her cheeks start clapping. Bravo for the late realization, but it's not entirely her fault. It's on the man who lets his woman go on a girls' trip with her single friends. If you're surprised something went wrong, it's because you didn't understand the basic rules of these trips. Let's be clear. Every girl's trip has 3 foolproof ingredients: a fun environment, a mentality of looking for a good time, and plenty of alcohol. Add an attractive man, the thrill of adventure, and a little chaos, and you've got the perfect recipe for things to spiral out of control. Brother, if you think nothing could happen, you're playing with fire. It's not paranoia, it's common sense.
Cheat.
Girls trips, for example, crime one. I can't tell you how many times a girl has cheated on her girls trip with me. Miami, you guys see I'm going to Miami a lot. These girls go on girls trip in Miami and they cheat. I don't care what you say. I don't care what your girl tells you. Quick story time. I was in Miami. This girl cheated on her boyfriend with me. I came back. I saw her Instagram, found it, and she was posting pictures with her boyfriend. And then she ended up blocking me because she didn't want me to see that. The point is, I've learned that girls are definitely cheaters and they're opportunists under certain circumstances, and especially with the right guy. And I just so happen to be that right guy a lot of times. So keep that in mind, take that information however you want. But if your girl's going to Miami and I'm there, chances are you might want to reschedule the trip.
This is a classic Chad move. He makes it clear on his YouTube channel. If he finds your girl in Miami and she's willing, don't expect him to forgive her. As the saying goes, the only one who forgives is Christ, and he died on the cross. This guy isn't here to teach morality. He's here to warn you. If your girl is in fun mode on a girls' trip, something's bound to happen. A girls' trip always includes 3 foolproof ingredients: a fun environment, the mindset of looking for a good time, and plenty of alcohol. Add the right man to that mix, and you've got the perfect storm. This Chad doesn't sugarcoat it. Women will be unfaithful when the circumstances are right, especially if they meet the right guy. Don't believe it? Watch the story of the husband who showed up unannounced on his wife's trip and found something he didn't expect. Brother, this isn't paranoia. It's reality. Take care of what you have, or Miami will do it for you.
Get ready with me while I tell you a story about a time I cheated on my boyfriend and don't regret it. Now, I would like to preface this by saying I do not condone cheating. It's not healthy. It's not good. But I try to find, the light at the end of the tunnel in every situation. And let's just say the situation brought me back to life and made me wake up and realize that I was not happy. Now, to start this off, you should know that I was in a very, very toxic relationship for about 3.5, 4 years, and things weren't going very well. Now, where the issue started is my ex and I were preparing for Valentine's Day. And right around the time of Valentine's Day, he decides that he is going to go on a boys' trip to Scottsdale, which I was fine with. I didn't mind when he went out of town. But he lets me know the dates on it, and I start laughing. I was like, excuse me? I was like, that's over Valentine's Day. It was like, it fell over a whole weekend, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, we have plans for Valentine's Day. We had reservations to a really nice restaurant, and he was just making adverse plans to go off with boys on a boys' trip on Valentine's Day. Now, this man was slick. So what he did was he had remembered that my girlfriends had talked about going on a trip to Mexico when we had been all hanging out a few weeks ago. And he's like, oh my God, you go on a girl's trip, I'll go on a guy's trip. And in return, I'll pay for your plane ticket for you to go. And I was like, but I don't know, kind of a trip, with my girlfriends seemed like a good idea. So I agreed. Now, as I'm taking off to go to Mexico, I realize this man has only bought me an economy seat. And that's fine, don't get me wrong. But if you are a man and you mess up Valentine's Day to go on a boys' trip and you're sending your girl off somewhere else, at least get her a Delta Comfort seat. But I was, in the back in economy and it was fine. So I take off, heading off to Mexico with my girlfriends. And we get to Mexico, hanging out, having a great time. And all of a sudden, I see this guy's Instagram story that looks just like where I'm at. And it was a guy who I had met in Atlanta, out and about, but he had moved to a different state. And so we kind of kept in touch with each other, but just as friends. I met him when he had a girlfriend. He met me whenever I had a boyfriend. So the second that I see that we are literally in the same place, same location, I reach out and I was like, hey, we should all get together because everyone knew each other who was associated with this group. And let me tell you, this man, beautiful. Probably the most beautiful man I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'll just go ahead and have to say we're going to need a part 2 because I need to continue and I'm getting hot thinking about how cute this guy is.
Here we have the typical attempt to justify infidelity with the excuse of, he did it first. She starts with the classic narrative of her relationship being toxic, followed by claiming her partner was at fault, and downplays her actions as simply a reaction. Naturally, she tries to position herself as the victim who is just searching for happiness. But let's focus on the important details. There was a guy she met in Atlanta, someone she kept in touch with. Her plan B, the guy who was always in the friend zone, patiently waiting for his chance. It's no coincidence that the perfect moment to act came when both were single and in the same place with all barriers removed. The attraction had always been there. It just needed the right conditions to reignite. She claims it was a coincidence, but we all know that when there's a plan B, there's no such thing as an accident. Brother, this is a reminder that those friends are often not just friends. They're backup plans waiting for their chance to strike. But let's continue.
It's part 2 of me telling you about the time I cheated on my boyfriend and don't regret it. So I reach out to the guy and we make plans to all get together that night. He had a big group, I had a big group, and so we all decided to get together. Now, one thing I will say about specifically Tulum, Mexico is it's super romantic, but it's also big time party atmosphere. It is one of the most beautiful places, but it's definitely like a man-made put together place. It's meant to be romantic. So I would like to really preface that. So we get to what is like the biggest, I guess, club, bar there, whatever you want to call it. And his group of friends, my group of girlfriends are all, kind of hanging out. Turns out he was there for a company trip. But nonetheless, we were having a great time. And about that time, everyone kind of starts tapering off towards the end of the night. He looks at me and he's like, let's go to the upstairs little quiet place. And I was like, I tried to go up there earlier. Definitely can't go up there. This is just like a little private area. And he's like, we'll go. Let's go. Now, before we get to the good part, I'm going to give you a little bit of detail about the relationship that I was in. Because once we get up to this private area, that's whenever it got spicy. My ex and I were in a situation where he had cheated and I was having a really, really hard time wanting to touch him again or, wanting to be intimate, or even when we were in bed together at night, there wasn't a lot of touching because he had cheated, and every time he touched me, that's all I could think about. And so that made him start being less romantic. That made him start trying less. Stop trying less. And so it wasn't good. We were not in a good place. And so back to the private area, my ex was not the most showy guy. He was not someone who was going to walk up to a door guy and just get you in. Never did that. So we start hanging out in this little private area and we are taking tequila shots that are neat pours, may I add. You weren't getting shots there. They were pours and we were downing them. Now, so to keep going back on this place was super romantic, and I had been dating someone who was no longer super romantic towards me. He would do nice things here and there when he wanted something, but that was really about it. And so I was in the super romantic place with this guy. We were having great conversation. He was asking me all these questions about myself, and I fell for it. And so he asked me, hey, my company has the entire resort across the road, hotel, whatever you want to call it, rented out. We can go do whatever we want there. He's like, let's go swimming. And I was like, you can't go night swimming. He's like, yes, you can. Again, this guy was making things happen. We're going to have to go to part 3. Sorry, this is a juicy story.
Here we have the classic woman trying to justify her infidelity with the usual excuse. He did it first, so I had the right. Her story is full of excuses and strategically placed details meant to portray herself as the victim who just happened to fall into a romantic moment during a trip. Naturally, her ex-husband is painted as the typical beta. He provided financial stability, but, according to her, failed to spark any passion in the bedroom. The man she met on the trip, however, is the complete opposite. He understands the game. He knows how to seduce, take charge, and create the masculine energy she craves. As she describes it, this guy was making things happen in a romantic setting, with tequila flowing and far from her husband's pressures. It's the perfect recipe to justify her fling. Brother, this isn't just a dangerous mix. It's a recipe for emotional disaster. And the worst part? She tells the story without an ounce of regret, as if betrayal were just a natural reaction to her dissatisfaction. But let's see how it all plays out.
This is part 3 of the Get Ready With Me while I tell you a story about the time I cheated on my ex and don't regret it. So again, this man is making things happen. We go over to his resort, but my resort was along the way. And I was like, hey, I need to get a swimsuit. And he's like, no, you don't. And if you're my dad, please stop watching. I know you're watching this. Please stop, because you're not going to like the rest of this. Anyways, we get to his pool and there's like a grotto situation, and it was really, really pretty, and it was really, really cold. So we hop in and hop just out just about as fast as we got in because it was freezing. I won't go into full detail about the rest of the trip, but we ended up spending the rest of the trip together. While I was there, I also ended up finding out that my ex, while he was in Scottsdale, was literally sitting with paid for girls at a nightclub. Great. With all of that being said, I had one of the most romantic trips with someone. I had a blast and a great time getting to know somebody and actually realizing that I deserved way more than what I was getting in my current relationship. I finally realized that even though I had been in this relationship for all this period of time, I still deserved the spark. I still deserved the romance and the touching and the kissing and all of the above. I realized I deserved those things, and it pulled me out of a rut. And I know everyone has heard the High Infidelity song by Taylor Swift. You know, do you really want to know what I was doing April 29th? Do you really know how he brought me back to life? However it goes. When I say that this man pulled me out of a rut of a relationship where I thought that I was just going to settle for the bare minimum in a relationship. This man wasn't even prepared to spend Valentine's Day with me. He didn't go above and beyond whenever it came down to the little things in life, and it ended up transpiring into me cheating. Now, I will say whenever I got back to Atlanta, I was pretty quick to tell my boyfriend what had happened. It took me a little bit of time. He knew I was acting funny, but I finally popped off one day and just was like, I deserve better than this. I want more than this. I figured out what I wanted, and it's just not this. Now, this kind of gave this man a wake-up call, and he was like, no, I'm not losing you. He wanted to try and make things work, and I just realized I was not happy, and there was no way that anything he could do would make it work. We even started trying to build a house together, and I still was not happy. I realized that there was something else out there that I wanted, and ended up going and seeing this guy in the different state that he had moved to and realizing I was really, really missing something in the relationship. And so, do I, think I handled things properly? No, but I don't regret what I did because I'm happy now and I know what I want.
It seems that cheating on your husband gave you a sense of empowerment, showing you your worth, and reminding you that you deserve more than the bare minimum. It made you realize that you're a strong, independent woman who shouldn't settle. That romantic getaway where you spent the whole time cheating on your husband with another man revealed the truth about what you truly deserve. The ways of life can be quite mysterious sometimes. These days, even cheating can be part of a woman's personal journey of self-discovery. Before assuming what her ex-husband might have done, she decides to take matters into her own hands. She likely believes that if he could have done it, she could too. After all, they spent the whole trip together, and let's not forget about the friends who might have been involved as well. This story highlights a key point. Any man who lets his wife go on a girl's trip should be prepared for her to return, possibly worked over by someone else, making him an unwilling cuckold. For many women, dealing with a troubled relationship seems to start with cheating rather than trying to fix things. And they'll blame men for being the unfaithful ones. What do you think about this story? Before we end, here are some questions for you. Would you let your wife go on a girl's trip? And why do you think men like Chad have so much success with women who go on these trips? That's a wrap for today on MGTOW Sigma. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you're the first to know when the next video is out. Share your thoughts in the comments below. See you tomorrow.